Welcome to Don't Chuck It Up. I'm Chuck, a college counselor who loves helping parents and educators navigate the college search and the application process with clarity and confidence. And today I wanted to spend some time reflecting on this year's application process. It is basically the start of May, which means the vast majority of seniors have now decided where they're heading off to college this fall. And I just wanted to take a moment and talk about what happened this past year with my own students and what I saw on social media. So I am involved in several different Facebook groups. I follow different parent talks and student talks about college on Reddit. You can also find me on Instagram, TikTok, and a whole host of other social media websites. And here are some things that I have noticed from this past year. I've come up with about 8 different things I want to mention that I think you should reflect on and consider. Now, this information is really great for students who are currently juniors in high school and who are starting to get their applications together and thinking about where they would like to apply for next fall. Also, I would love to hear from other counselors and parents about your reflections from this past year. Feel free and comment on this episode or send me a direct message and give me your feedback and thoughts as to what you think happened this year. So here are a few of mine. We're starting off with number 1, understanding the cost of college. I noticed this year on many Facebook groups that parents were absolutely shocked as to what the final sticker price was for the places that their students were admitted. They really had no idea how they were planning to pay for it and were unsure as to if college was even going to be affordable. My reaction to this is that parents need to have a better understanding of your own financial situation and have a budget as to what you would like to be able to pay for college for a year. Once you've established those types of things, you need to look for colleges that are within your budget. So I would recommend filling out the FAFSA estimator and getting your estimated student aid index. I've had a couple other podcasts and episodes on the FAFSA, so feel free to check out information about that. Also, as you start looking at colleges that you plan to apply to, each college has a net price calculator. It is an online tool that gives you a rough but solid estimation as to what the cost is going to be for your student to attend that college. I highly recommend you fill out the net price calculator for each school that your student is planning to apply to. And then make sure that you have an actual budget. Do not plan on your student automatically getting one of those full ride or full tuition scholarships. Those sound lovely, and they are not very common. So unless you already know that your student is guaranteed one of those through maybe a program within your state or a certain scholarship that they are definitely guaranteed to get, which is almost none, do not plan for a full ride or a full tuition scholarship. They're just very rare. So the first area that parents and students need to understand better is the cost of college. As I said, check out some of my other podcast episodes for more information and deep dive into that. Number 2, connected to it, is make sure that you have a balanced list of where you would like to apply to college for this next year. I am proud to report that of my 27 seniors this past year, well over half of them were admitted to every college and university they applied to. Yeah, over half admitted to every place they applied to. Am I surprised? No. Why? Because for each student and family, I really ensure a very balanced list of places that they are applying. Whether it's a couple schools that are a bit more of a reach, some solid target places that I am almost 100% sure that I think they're going to get admitted, and maybe 1 or 2 quote-unquote safety schools that are going to be very reliable. This year, I had students apply to as few as 1 college, and I had a couple students apply to just over 10 schools. The average for my seniors was about 6, and that was plenty. As you're creating your list of colleges, make sure that you have a mix of public and private. schools that are within your state and outside of your state. You need some options. Keep in mind that if you're applying to public universities, especially the flagship type schools that are outside of your state, most of those don't give out a ton of scholarship dollars, and they are harder to get admitted to. Same thing, highly selective institutions, so colleges that admit less than 15 or 20% of their applicant pool, also typically do not offer a ton of scholarship dollars, so those are going to be harder to get admitted to and possibly more expensive. If you're wondering where you should go for information about what colleges you should be looking at, talk to your high school counselor or utilize some of the tools that are available to you at your high school. Many high school websites offer different search engines and different lists of colleges and universities that have historically recruited from your high school. If colleges and universities are coming to your school, they're interested in students at your place. So check them out. They might be a fit for you. Also, when you're making your list, it is totally okay to apply to colleges and universities that are quote-unquote not that popular. One of my favorite statistics from my students this past year is that over half of my seniors will be attending a college this fall that they had never heard of prior to working with me. I'm always excited to show students and parents new colleges and universities that they never even thought about or had heard of, but are a great fit for them academically, socially, and financially. So my number big 2 takeaway for this year is make sure that your list of colleges and universities you're applying to is balanced and not too many. The biggest feedback from my seniors this year, many of them wish that they had applied to fewer colleges because they got admitted to so many. Number 3, I want to talk about extracurricular activities. This year, I saw so many students and parents really pressing extracurricular activities, making sure that students were doing a passion project or a research experience, or maybe they went and did a service project in another country, or they started a new not-for-profit organization. None of those are required to get admitted. What is required is that students really do quality over quantity. You don't have to fill in every possible slot on the application to show that you've been involved. Many colleges want to see depth rather than breadth, or quality over quantity. Find things that you are truly passionate about and deep dive and become a leader or a creator within those particular experiences. Everything counts on your list of activities. A lot of students focus just on the clubs and organizations that they do within their high school. Keep in mind that volunteering in school, out of school, for your community, through a religious organization, through scouts or other organizations, also counts. A job, whether it is part-time, full-time, summer, babysitting, lawn work, jobs count as part of your activities. Same thing with travel. If your family has done extensive travel, you can include that as a way that you have spent your time during your summers or your school breaks. And don't forget all of those out-of-school things that you do, whether it's hobbies like fishing or skiing or backpacking or mountain climbing, or maybe you are really good at baking and you give your baked goods away to neighbors. That's an activity and you can include it. Make sure when you're making your list of activities that you have a family member or a friend that helps you think about which particular things that you've been involved in over the past several years of high school. So the number 3 area that I was really shocked by was all the hype around extracurriculars. And connected to that is extracurriculars versus grades and academics. Many, many times on Reddit and on Facebook, I noticed comments about, well, my grades are not that great, so what extracurriculars can I do to improve my chances of being admitted? As a former admissions counselor who has read tens of thousands of applications in my lifetime, I don't care what activities you've done. It is never going to correct bad grades or bad class selection during high school. So if your GPA is below a 3.0, there is no extracurricular in the world that is going to make it so you can get admitted to a hyper-selective college. You need to come up with a different plan for college if you have really super low grades. Now, students need to calibrate their grade scale. What I've really noticed is that students don't understand their own GPA, so go talk to your high school counselor or talk to your teachers and understand, is your GPA weighted? Is it unweighted? And what scale is it on? The most common scale is a 4.0, but there are high schools that are on a 5-point scale, a 10-point scale, 12-point, 100-point, and some high schools don't even have a grading scale at all. But when you are out there on the search engines looking for what is the average GPA, some colleges are reporting on a 4-point scale or on a different scale, and it might be weighted versus unweighted. So make sure that you understand your grades as you are creating the list of colleges you're applying to, and to ensure that you are a strong fit for those colleges. As far as rigor, colleges look at, have you challenged yourself? Now, if you're applying to very selective colleges, whether those are public or private, the higher the rigor, the better the chance of admission. The rigors can include taking things like post-secondary enrollment option, or dual enrollment, or dual credits. It also can include the IB, the International Baccalaureate Program, the AP classes, advanced placement, honors, and many, many more. Those selective colleges want to see that you are pushing yourself to the level of college work, to show that you are ready to do the academic work that a college or university is looking for. Does every student need to take super rigorous courses? No. Again, look at the selectivity of the colleges and universities you're considering. The more selective, the higher the rigor they're going to want. The less selective are probably not going to need as much rigor. Students and parents also need to understand the difference between high school graduation requirements, the classes that are needed to graduate from high school, and the courses that are needed to be admissible into a college. Those are not the same things. For many students, when they were thinking about their rigor, they were looking at what classes do I need to graduate from high school, and not considering what classes do I need to be a strong student to be admitted into college. This is absolutely imperative through the University of California system and the California state system. Go check out my podcast where I really take that apart, which is called The California Conundrum. We talk through the A through G requirements and what courses are needed to be a strong applicant to those systems. Many other highly selective colleges and universities require a similar structure, where you are really needing to take 4 years of English, 4 years of math, 3, possibly 4 years of a science, 2 to 3 years of a world language, 2 to 3 years of social sciences and history, and at least 1 full year of the fine and performing arts. So you really need to make sure that you understand what are the college entrance requirements for classes versus what are the high school graduation requirements for your high school. And lastly, for the grades and rigor section of this comment is students, make sure you're actually taking a full senior year of classes. Senioritis does not help you get admitted into a college. I have seen some senior schedules this year where students were just taking literally 1 or 2 classes their second semester, then chalking the rest of their schedule full of early release in the morning, early release in the afternoon, a couple of study halls, and maybe taking senior gym. Your senior schedule needs to be solid all the way through. I know you're tired. I know you've had a lot of academic burnout, but colleges want to make sure that you're going to cross the high school graduation finish line with full success academically. So section number 4 on this is grades and rigor. Number 5, test scores, ACT and SAT. More and more colleges are requiring the ACT or the SAT to apply and get admitted. So please check with your colleges and universities to see if it is required that you submit an ACT or an SAT score for admission. Keep in mind, colleges are not allowed to give preferential treatment to ACT versus SAT or vice versa. So whichever one you take should be good enough, but check with the college to see if they tend to receive more ACTs or SATs. It doesn't really matter, but it might be curious for you. Have a testing plan. ACT and SAT offer testing throughout the summer, and many students will sign up to take it once or twice before they submit their applications in the fall. Also, you need to make sure, and I saw this problem a lot, that students may not understand that test scores can also hurt you. You might be excited about your test score, but if it is below the average test scores for a college or university, by you submitting that score, you might actually be making yourself look worse in the application process. If this is a concern of yours, message me or send a contact to your high school counselor to talk about how your test score can play out. Also with test scores, keep in mind that still the vast majority of colleges and universities in the United States, the vast majority, do not require an ACT or an SAT to apply and get admitted. Over half of my seniors this year applied to colleges without using ACT or SAT scores. And they still got scholarships, and they still got admitted to some pretty amazing places. You can always check the fairtest.org website for more information about test optional and test free colleges. For example, the Cal State and UC systems are test free. So really understand your testing situation and know that your testing information doesn't hinder you from getting into a solid college. Topic number 6 that I'd like to talk about briefly is essays. A lot of students are going to be spending their summer writing essays. Aren't you excited? Essays for college applications have nothing to do with what you've been writing in your essay for high school English classes. A lot of students come to me with their essays that they wrote in a high school English class and said, hey, this is the type of essay we've been writing in high school. Can I submit this with my college application? And many of them are just not the right fit. How you write for high school and for a grade is different than how you write a college essay. The essay that is included in the Common App, which is typically up to 650 words, and then the 4 essays that you have to write for the University of California application, all should be about the student. If I can look at a student's transcript, their list of activities, and their essay from those 3 things, I should get a good sense as to who you are as a person. What are you curious about? What are you passionate about? What have you been involved in? And kind of your overall vibe. Your essay should sound like a teenager. Yeah, you can use a thesaurus or you can use other editing tools to help your writing structure get better. But when you read that essay, it should sound like a teenager wrote it. Parents and counselors, I know that we want to intervene and try and help the students improve their writing, and we can coach them through some things. But when I see a student's application and the essay sounds like someone with a PhD wrote it, it's pretty obvious. So parents and counselors, help your students, but it still should sound like a teenager wrote the essay. What I noticed this year, a lot of students forget to leave out the details in writing an essay. Who was involved? What was going on? Where were you located? When did this happen? Time of year, time of season, what was the temperature like, maybe, if that's important. But the details of the story help the reader understand what is going on. So make sure that when you say, oh, when I was doing this activity at my school, well, put the name of your high school. Your high school has an official name. Put the name of the school. Or I was involved with this particular club. Name the club. Or we did it at this location. Tell me about the park or the venue that you were at for this location. Those details really help to bring your essay to life. Another big element of college essays that students tend to miss is that it's supposed to be a reflective experience. The essay writing should help you sit and think, what did I learn from this experience? What did I gain? How did this experience change who I am, what I believe in, how I interact with other people, and a host of other thoughts? So as you are writing your essay, get your inner voice out. So that little voice inside your head is like, wow, that was really difficult. I really had a hard time doing it, but I'm so glad I did it because I learned something new about myself. If you had that experience, write that down. Let me understand what you were going through emotionally as you were writing your essay. Not the emotional part of writing the essay, but the emotional part of the experience that you are writing about in your essay. One final footnote on essays is your essay should not be a repetition of your activity list. As admissions counselors, they can read the activity list and understand what you've been involved in school, out of school, volunteer work, all those types of things. Your essay should not repeat that. You can take one of the elements of your activities list and write your essay on it and give a bunch of details and really tell a story of what you learned from that experience. But your essay should not be a regurgitation of everything on your activities list. So those are some thoughts about your essays. If you need help again, make sure that you message me or check out some of my other podcast episodes where I talk about essays. This has been helpful for you. Make sure you like, comment, and share on this podcast. And now I'm going to share my last 2 reflections from this year's applicant pool. This one is going to be repetitive, and I'm going to keep saying this in multiple episodes for the next year. Students and parents, read your college email. Once you are on a college's email list, I know they are sending you a lot of emails. I know. I get a lot of the same emails. I get this. You need to read them, especially if they are colleges that you are planning to apply to. For example, this year, one of my students failed to read his email and missed the deadline for a very large scholarship that he probably would have been a good candidate for because he didn't read his email. I couldn't believe it. I have harped on my students time and time again, week after week, read your email, stay on top of your email, and make sure you get it done. They might be inviting you to a scholarship program or to a visit program, or maybe they're letting you know that they're coming to visit your high school or will be at a college fair in your area. All of those ways, or all of those things are ways that you can connect and engage with the college admissions office. So do them, but you won't know about them unless you read your email. I know we all get email. I know we get a lot of it, but if, again, you are applying to colleges and universities and they are sending you emails, read them. Parents, that's you too. Eventually, your student will add the parent email onto their application, and when the student submits that application, parent communication will drastically increase from colleges and universities. Parents, those colleges and universities are trying to tell you something. They're reminding you about financial aid deadlines, opportunities to visit the college, either in person or in your own local area. So please read your email. Make it a team effort, because oftentimes when an email goes to a parent, a similar email is also going to the student. So say, hey, did you get that email from XYZ College? Because I just got one. Talk about it. And then my biggest feedback, if you're going to take one thing away from this podcast and one thing only, this is the biggie. Coming this fall, when you are ready to submit your applications, please submit your applications at least 2 weeks before the stated deadline. You see, what most students and parents don't understand is that, when you push the submit button, your application is sent away from your screen. However, there's a whole lot of process that happens before it actually reaches the screen of an admissions counselor. And too many students and parents are submitting things way too last minute, which may cause the application to be counted as late and moved to a later review route. So as you're putting your things together, again, I know we are all super busy, but make sure that you are submitting your applications at least 2 weeks before, because then you're going to get emails back from the college, which you are going to read, on how to log into your student portal, submit the rest of your supplemental documents, such as the information from your high school, letters of recommendation, test scores, possibly a resume or a portfolio that the college might be looking for if that's specific to you. Maybe you can sign up for an interview or schedule a visit. But if you do this all too last minute, it may not come together, and that may actually jeopardize your application review process. So please, please, please get things ready. Don't procrastinate, and submit your applications at least 2 weeks in advance. So in today's episode, I highlighted 8 areas that I really noticed stood out to me this past application season. Number 1, understanding the cost of college, and parents need to be better at this and help their students with this process. Number 2, make sure you're applying to a balanced list of colleges and universities. Don't apply just to all the super hard to get into ones, but also don't apply only to the super easy ones. Have a good mix. Number 3, stop with the hype around extracurriculars. There's no one extracurricular that's going to automatically get you admitted. Number 4, grades and rigor matter, so please understand your transcript and get a sense as to how you compare to students who have applied to that college previously from your high school. Number 5, test scores. Understand what your scores are, have a plan, and don't forget about test optional places. Number 6, essays. Don't forget the details. Make sure it sounds like a teenager. Number 7, read your email. Nothing more said. No notes. And number 8, be ready to submit your applications at least 2 weeks early, especially if you want to be considered for the top level scholarships, because in that case, the early bird can get the worm. This process is confusing, daunting, and it's long. I often tell my students and families that this is a marathon, not a sprint. I hope that this podcast has been helpful for you. I hope that my entire series has been useful. If it has, please like, comment, share it with friends, and subscribe to make sure that you are getting my updated messages every week in your apps or in your social media. So please subscribe to me on YouTube, on Apple Podcasts, on Spotify, or wherever you're listening. And I hope this has been helpful because I want to make this as stress-free as possible. I am here. Please comment, message me. I am happy to help out as best I can. Thanks for listening to Don't Chuck It Up. If today's episode was helpful, be sure that you subscribe and share it with the family navigating the college search and application process. I'm here to help as many as I can. I'll be back next week with more tips and tricks. Until then, remember, don't chuck it up.